Greetings everyone, and welcome to the second session, which is titled Working with AI, Strengths and Shortcomings, and Role of Human Judgment. So last session, we explored the foundations of artificial intelligence, what it is, how it works, and how it learns. We began by defining AI as the ability of machines to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, such as recognizing images, understanding language, making predictions, or solving problems. We then looked at how AI learns, focusing on data and patterns. So unlike humans who can learn from experience or intuition, AI systems depend entirely on data. So they identify patterns in massive data sets using algorithms, a bit like how we notice habits or routines, but on a much larger and faster scale. Through repeated training, AI improves its accuracy, much like how practice helps humans refine our skills. So finally, we discussed that while AI seems intelligent, it doesn't truly understand the world the way people do. Its intelligence comes from patterns, not comprehension or emotion. So this distinction is important because it helps us recognize both AI's potential and its limitations. Hence, in this session, we'll build on that foundation by examining what AI does exceptionally well and equally important where it struggles. Understanding both sides is crucial if you want to use AI responsibly and effectively. So the learning objectives of this session, is to identify key strengths of AI, understand how they enhance workflows, recognize limitations of AI and how they influence output, and establish the mindset and strategies to collaborate with AI using human oversight. So when we talk about the strengths of artificial intelligence, it's easy to think of complex robots or futuristic systems. But in reality, AI's strengths often show up quietly in tools we already use every day. So from email filters, customer chatbots, to scheduling assistants, translation tools, and even predictive text, what makes AI powerful isn't that it replaces humans, but that it amplifies what humans can do. So one of AI's biggest strengths is speed and efficiency. Humans can only process a limited amount of information at once. For example, reading through hundreds of customer feedback forms or viewing thousands of medical records would take weeks or even months for one person. AI, however, can scan and analyze that same data in seconds. This doesn't mean it understands the information, but it can summarize, categorize, and extract trends much faster than we ever could. In workplaces, this speed can translate to better productivity. AI tools can handle repetitive or time-consuming tasks, so professionals can focus on the parts of their work that require empathy, creativity, and more careful judgment. Another major strength is data handling. So modern organizations generate enormous amounts of data, sales reports, emails, documents, social media posts, and more. Sorting through all of this manually would be overwhelming. So AI thrives in these situations because it can detect patterns in data that humans might miss. For instance, in business settings, AI can highlight buying trends before they become obvious. In healthcare, it can flag early warning signs in patient data. In education, it can help identify students who may need extra support based on learning patterns. So these were mentioned in the previous session as well. In each case, AI acts as a tool that turns raw data into insights, not to replace the professional's judgment, but to support it with clearer information. So another area where AI excels is pattern recognition. AI systems are designed to notice relationships between variables that may not seem connected at first. So for instance, an AI model can recognize speech accents across different languages, detect financial fraud by identifying subtle irregularities, or even analyze satellite images to monitor environmental changes. This ability to see hidden connections allows professionals across fields to make more informed decisions, often earlier than they could have otherwise. A strength that's often overlooked is availability. So, unlike humans, AI doesn't need to rest. Chatbots and virtual assistants can basically operate 24/7. So, offering instant responses to customer questions or technical support requests in workplaces where response times matters, such as customer service, logistics. This constant availability helps organizations maintain smooth operations, even outside traditional working hours. So in addition, AI can bring consistency and objectivity. Human decision making can be influenced by mood, fatigue, or personal bias. AI systems, when trained on balanced and representative data, can provide consistent outputs every time. For example, an AI-based hiring system can evaluate candidates using the same criteria for everyone, or an AI medical system can provide a uniform interpretation of test results. Of course, this only works if the data itself is fair, something we'll discuss later when we talk about bias. But basically, all of this just points to a major component, which is that AI strength lies in its ability to augment human capability. It can assist professionals in ways that make their work more precise, creative, or data-informed. Like AI can help doctors spot patterns in scans. It can alert analysts to market shifts. And just in creative industries, AI can even serve as a brainstorming partner, suggesting new design headlines or compositions that inspire new directions. It's important to remember that all these strengths don't mean AI is replacing humans. Instead, AI works best as a partner, handling the heavy lifting of data and repetition while leaving humans to focus on understanding and empathy and innovation. The real power of AI comes not from what it can do alone, but from how it can enhance what people already do well. So while AI has many remarkable strengths, speed, consistency, data, so on, it's equally important to understand where it falls short. Every tool, no matter how powerful, has boundaries. AI may be fast and capable, but it lacks many of the qualities that make human intelligence truly adaptable. Understanding, empathy, context, and common sense. Recognizing these limitations isn't about downplaying AI's value, it's about using it wisely, responsibly, and with a realistic expectation. One of the most fundamental limitations of AI is its lack of reasoning and genuine understanding. AI systems don't think. They process patterns based on data. When an AI tool answers the questions, generates text, or identifies an image, it isn't forming an opinion or understanding, meaning the way a human does. It's matching patterns as seen before to produce a likely response. For instance, if you ask an AI to write an email, it doesn't actually know what kindness or professionalism mean. It just predicts what words are likely to come next based on examples as seen in its training data. This means that while AI can sound intelligent, it doesn't truly comprehend. It cannot grasp nuance, emotion, or intention in the same way a person can. Closely related to this issue is of bias. So as we learned from session one, AI depends on data to learn and data reflects the world it comes from, which means it can also reflect the world's inequalities, stereotypes, and errors. If an AI is trained on biased information, it can unintentionally reinforce that specific bias. So, for instance, hiring algorithms have been found to favor certain genders or ethnic groups, which we'll be looking at later, so if the training data reflects past biases in recruitment. Similarly, facial recognition systems have historically performed less accurately on darker skin tones because of underrepresentation in training datasets. This doesn't mean the AI is malicious. It simply mirrors what it has been exposed to do. But the consequences of biased outputs can be serious, especially when decisions impact people's lives, opportunities, or reputations. Another limitation is AI hallucination, a term used to describe when AI, confidently produce information that is completely false or fabricated. So this happens because AI models are designed to predict what sounds correct, not what is correct. For example, an AI text generator might produce a made-up reference, a non-existent study, or an incorrect fact, but present it convincingly. This can be especially dangerous in professional settings where accuracy and trust are essential. It's a reminder that AI's fluency doesn't equal reliability, and why human verification remains essential. This is due to the fact that AI is very data dependent, as mentioned before in session one. AI also struggles with moral judgment and lacks human judgment within its system, doesn't have feelings, values, or sense of ethics. It can simulate emotional tone, like writing a sympathetic email or using a warm tone in customer service, but it doesn't generally understand human emotion or care about outcomes in fields like healthcare, education management. This lack of empathy can make AI unsuitable for decisions that require compassion or moral consideration. Humans can weigh values, consider fairness, and adjust behavior based on empathy. AI cannot. But like mentioned, its performance relies on the quality and quantity of data it's trained on. If the data is incomplete, outdated, or inaccurate, the AI's output will reflect those flaws. It cannot question its own knowledge gaps or recognize when it's out of its depth. This means that while AI might perform exceptionally well within the scope of its training, it often fails when faced with novel situations or unexpected inputs, situations where human intuition would normally adapt. So, while AI's strengths make it a valuable partner, its limitations remind us that it is not and cannot be a replacement for human judgment. The technology is not only as good as data and instructions behind it, and requires human oversight to ensure fairness, accuracy, and ethical use. So, understanding these boundaries doesn't make AI less impressive, it just makes it smarter users. So, when professionals know what AI can and can't do, they can use it more effectively, letting AI handle data-driven, repetitive work, keeping human insight, ethics, and context at the heart of every decision. So this is what I was referring to before. Here is a real-world example that demonstrates the limitations of AI. So just back in 2018, Amazon developed an AI tool to help them automate their hiring process. So the idea sounded brilliant. Feed the AI data from past successful job applicants and let it learn what makes a good employee. But here's the catch. Most of Amazon's historical hires had been men. So the AI learned that being male was a desirable pattern. So as a result, it started automatically downgrading applications that included like words like women, women chess club, women's coding society, so and so that are associated with the female gender. It wasn't intentionally sexist. It was just replicating the bias in the data it was trained on. So Amazon eventually scrapped the project. So this is just one of many examples where AI goes wrong. Now imagine the consequences of relying on incorrect AI outputs in other professions. Sorry, like a lawyer or healthcare worker. Many people can be indirectly harmed. This is why AI literacy is a crucial skill set when working with AI technologies. It's not just about how to use it, but how to use it safely and securely by having an understanding and comprehension for AI outputs. All is not AI is not an unquestionable authority and is only a collaborative tool. So now that we've explored what AI does well and where it struggles, it's time to focus on the most important part of using it responsibly, human oversight and verification. In any professional setting, whether it's healthcare, education, finance, management, AI should be thought of as a powerful assistant, not an authority. It can produce insights, automate repetitive work, and save enormous amounts of time. But it can also produce mistakes, biased outputs, or entirely fabricated information. The key skill professionals need today is not just how to use AI, but how to think critically about its results. This ability is what we call discernment, the judgment to decide when AI should be used and how it should be used, and how much trust it deserves in each context. Let's start with the idea, use case with discernment. Every AI use case should begin with a question, not can I use AI here, but should I? And to what extent should I trust it? For example, in healthcare, AI might be excellent in organizing medical notes, summarizing patient histories, so and so. But when it comes to diagnosing an illness or recommending treatment, that's where human judgment must be involved. An AI model doesn't know entirely about the patient, doesn't sense subtle symptoms or emotional cues. So it lacks the empathetical side and ethical reasoning required for proper diagnosis. So discernment means understanding where AI adds value and where it introduces risk. The same principle can apply in education as well. AI tools can generate lesson plans, design quizzes, or even provide feedback on writing, as we've mentioned before. But no AI can replace a teacher's understanding of their students. Students who might be struggling quietly, who learns better through visuals, or who just needs moral encouragement from the teacher. Discernment here means AI to assist and not to decide. Like in corporate or administrative settings, AI can automate reports, summarize long documents, spot trends in data even. But strategic decisions, performance reviews, or any action with ethical, emotional weight still demand reasoning from humans. So, how do we actually practice discernment? A simple framework is to ask three guiding questions before relying on AI for a task. What's the purpose? Am I using AI to save time, generate ideas, or make a judgment? What is the risk? Is this low stakes, like drafting an email, or high stakes, like handling confidential information? What's the verification process? How will I confirm that what AI gives me is accurate, appropriate, and safe to use? So this verification process is important, and we will be looking at it very soon. But once you've determined that AI is appropriate for a task, yeah, like we said, the process of double checking AI's output to ensure they're correct and relevant is requires several steps as well. So a good rule of thumb is to never assume AI is right just because it sounds confident. AI doesn't know when it's wrong. It can generate false or misleading information that looks perfectly plausible, which is what we mentioned as AI hallucination. So to verify effectively, um, professionals can use a few practical techniques. First one being triangulation. So this means checking AI-generated information against multiple reliable sources. So for example, if AI provides a statistic, confirm it by looking up in official reports or recognized databases. If it summarizes a policy, review the original document. Treat AI as a starting point and not the final decision-making authority. Second strategy technique would be reverse prompting. So this involves asking AI to explain or justify its answer. For instance, what are your sources for that information? Or can you show me how you arrived at that conclusion? Well, AI can't truly reason this. AI can't truly reason. This process can actually reveal inconsistencies or like weak logic that can alert you to possible errors. Third is contextual thinking. Always consider whether the AI's response fits your specific situation. An AI might produce a great sounding policy draft, but is it aligned with your organization's culture or legal requirements? Context is something AI cannot fully understand. Only humans can provide that final filter. Number four would be peer verification. So in workplaces, it's very smart to have a second pair of eyes. Share AI-generated work with colleagues for review, especially if it's going public or affecting others. Collaborative oversight reduces the chance of bias or misinformation slipping through unnoticed. In addition to these verification methods, it's important to maintain accountability. Even though AI may generate the content, humans remain responsible for the outcomes. We can't blame AI. Whether it's a document, an analysis, or public statement, the accountability never transfers to the machine, but only to the user. So this means professionals must be vigilant about reviewing, editing, and validating all AI outputs before they're used or shared. Verification isn't about preventing mistakes. It's about protecting professional integrity. When we take ownership of AI-generated work and ensure it meets our standards, we maintain trust in both ourselves and the technology. There's also an ethical dimension to human oversight. AI doesn't understand fairness, privacy, or cultural sensitivity. It doesn't know when something could be offensive, misleading, or inappropriate. Humans must act as the moral and contextual gatekeepers, checking that AI's outputs reflect not just correctness, but responsibility as well. Ultimately, human oversight isn't about distrusting AI. It's about building a partnership where humans provide the judgment and AI provides the efficiency. AI can handle the what, the data, the facts, the patterns, while humans handle the why and the should. When used this way, AI becomes a collaborator that amplifies our abilities rather than replace them. It frees us from routine tasks so we can focus on creativity, empathy, problem solving, the things that make us distinctly human. Just to close this section, I remember this simple principle. AI should not assist. AI should assist, sorry. AI should assist and not decide. Our role as professionals is to guide, question, and verify. So when we apply discernment before using AI and oversight after using it, we ensure that technology works for us, not the other way around. So in this session, we explore both sides of AI, what it does exceptionally well, and where it still depends on human guidance. AI's strengths lie in its speed, accuracy, and ability to produce vast amounts of data far faster than any human could. It can process it very well and work around the clock without fatigue, recognize pair patterns hidden in complex information, and perform repetitive data-driven tasks with consistency. So, for professionals, this means AI can handle the heavy lifting, whether that's analyzing reports, generating content, or assisting with organization, allowing humans to focus on interpersonal work or strategies, creativity. However, we also saw its limitations. AI lacks understanding, empathy, and true reasoning. It can misinterpret context, reflect bias from its training data, or even hallucinate, producing confident but false information. It doesn't know when it's wrong. That's why human oversight and verification are essential. AI should assist, not decide, as we mentioned, as a key principle to remember. By practicing discernment, knowing when to use AI, how much to trust it, and how to verify its outputs, professionals can ensure accuracy, fairness, and ethical use. The real power of AI isn't in replacing people, like we said, it's in enhancing what we can do when guided by human judgment, creativity, and integrity.